Hello guys, Max with A1 Website Pro here today, and I have a fun little tutorial for you. If you go to this URL, and I'll have it in the link in the description below in the video. But this is self-destruct letters. Now I used to own selfdestructletters.com back when I did this, but I've made some improvements to it so anybody could actually download the script and put it on their server. So basically, some things do not need to be repeated. Send a letter that destroys itself as it's read. So it's kind of cool and kind of fun, and you can mess with your friends and family. What happens is when they click "Try it now," they're allowed to give a second count, or a minute. How many minutes or seconds do you want to give them to read? And we'll put ours for 30 seconds for this demonstration. Now, how many times do you want it accessed? Well, you could have it just one time, but if you're going to use a preview, you want to be able to access this letter 2 times, or you could go up to 3 times. So we'll do 2 times. Expiration date, we'll go ahead and put the expiration date for tomorrow. So we could say something like, "Hi, I hid the money in the dresser in my room." Something like that. And then we'll scroll down here, hit submit, and now right here you have a link to preview the letter. So let's go ahead and preview it one time, and you'll see how it types it out. "Hi, I hid the money in the dresser." This is also mobile friendly. Now, the other thing the person can't do, they can't right click. I'm trying to right click with my mouse. Now, of course, anybody could screenshot anything, but if they don't think about that, you can't right click. You can highlight the text and hit Control C on your keyboard. Let's bring up Notepad and see if we can paste it into our Notepad. "I hid the money in my dresser room." So they could do that if they think about that. Now notice after the time has expired, the letter self-destructs. Now, since we've been able to access this 2 times, if I hit the refresh button, it should type out the letter again. Let's go ahead, and there it goes. It's typing out the letter again. Now, if I refresh the script one more time, it should just say that this letter's been destroyed. So let's go ahead and do that. And the letter you're trying to access has been destroyed. Okay? And so basically that's it in a nutshell. The other 2 options that you have, you can email the letter. So if you click on this email letter, it's going to bring up your email client, and you could type in the person's address. And then you could change the subject. You can also put whatever you want to down there, but they're going to be given that special link to go and read your letter. Okay. Now the other thing that you can do is, like, maybe you want to share it on social media, maybe mess with your friends. You just grab that link down there, copy it, and go to your Facebook or whatever, and go ahead and put in the link. All you have to do is type it into your feed there. My Facebook's messing up, but anyway, that's it in a nutshell. And so I will show you guys how this all was done with JavaScript, AJAX, PHP, and how you can do it too. And you have the script, you can download it and put it on your server, or you can copy and paste the scripts. I'm going to have them all on this post. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Let me bring over my Notepad. And here I have the directory of self-destruct letters in my htdocs. Okay. Now the first thing that you're going to have to do is set up a database. Okay. And then the data.sql is in there. Okay. You could go ahead and take the data and import it into your PHP myadmin. So you want to do that. Then you want to make sure that you edit the config file. After you do that, you just make all these other files that we're going to go over here, and voila, you'll have a self-destruct letter on your server. So let's go ahead, and we already went over the config file here. Let's go to the index file. You notice the very first thing I'm doing is I'm including the config file here, and I'm also including the functions. And I put my head tag in the functions PHP as a as a function there, the function head. So then that way it keeps it clean up here for me. I'm using Bootstrap. If we go to my functions, let's go ahead and bring that up, and I'll show you the head function that I'm bringing in. Here's the head, and here I get the base name, and I use it down here in the OG URL property. Okay, and as we go down here, we start the head tag. The character says UTF-8. This is for mobile devices, and this is the meta description. And then here's our OG tags, also for our Twitter, if anybody shares it on Twitter. And here's the title, self-destruct letters. Here I'm bringing in the style sheet for Bootstraps, okay? And the next one is the font. That font that I'm using is quintessential. So I'm bringing in that style sheet. I also have a style sheet that we use in here in the head tag. And then we have our scripts coming in, our jQuery, and then we have our Bootstrap script. And then also we have our little private script that we have on the server. All right, and then if you notice down here, here's the foot function that just closes out the body tag and HTML. And as you scroll down to the bottom here, you can see that's there. And then finally, we close the connection to the database. Okay, so let's go down and see what's going on here. So we start out with a div class of container fluid, and I also added another class called SDLL. We have our H1 tag for self-destruct letters, and we don't have to put the .com. That was just something I used a while ago. Here we have the tagline with the paragraph with the tagline, and the class is large. We have a div class of row. This is Bootstrap, and in there we put the function of right. Okay, and we're centering that. So let me go ahead and show you what the div class of right does. So right, we're going to echo a button. This is a modal in Bootstrap. Okay, and notice the data target is the ID of letter. Once we click that, try it now, it brings up this div ID, which is the modal. And what that will do is that will bring up this form or this button to write your letter. Okay, so whenever we click here, it brings up this form. Okay, so that's what it's doing, and then we just come into our form here. So we start out with the div class of form group, and then we have our label and all that happy stuff. And this is our very first form. It's a drop down. How long do you want them to be able to see it? And notice this data toggle pop over. What's going on right there is whenever you click try it now and how long, you notice how that pop over comes up. That's what that's doing right there. Okay. And then, of course, you have our select options, which is right here. All right. And as we go down in the script, we have the next one, how many times you can access it, and here's our different options, 1, 2, or 3 times. And you can increase that to whatever you want. You can actually put an input number field and have that go in there. Just give it the ID of expire. Okay, here's the next one, the form group of the expiration date. And basically, I'm just using the input type of date, so it brings up the calendar. And Bootstrap makes it look pretty good. The next one is the label for the letter itself. You could tell them how you really feel. And so that's this text area. And the class form control. The title of how long should be enter letter or something like that. And as we come down here, notice I have the button on click. It's going to bring up the AJAX when they hit that submit button. And that's what's going to happen right here, which we send in JavaScript and XML HTTP request, and it's going to the processor.php taking all those form items and submitting them to there. Okay? And that's what happens, and this is straight JavaScript using AJAX. And then, of course, down here we have the closing of the footer, the closing of the modal. So let me go ahead and save that. So that's what's going on right here. Here's the text area, and here's the submit button. Now, whenever it goes, we have a function called timeout, and that is for whenever they go to the letters, because we're in the functions.php now. So this timeout function, that's going to go to the letter.php. So let's go ahead and go over this stuff, this preview letter, all that other stuff. Here let me go ahead and refresh this. So it's keeping the old stuff in there. See, now you don't have preview letter, and that makes it look a little bit better. It's a little bit more understandable. Okay, so back in the index, notice here I have a script tag, and I'm setting up a variable of my string, and it says some things don't need to be repeated. Send a letter destroys itself as it's read. And then what we do is we want to split that array. We set another variable with my array and a variable of loop timer. And then we set a function, frame looper. If my array length is greater than 0, we're going to get the document.getElementById, the tagline, and we're going to target the inner HTML, and we're going to concatenate my array shift on there. Okay, and this is what's going to type it out. Else clear timer. All right, and then we'll return false. We're going to loop timer. We're going to set the timeout, calling this frame looper function, and we're have it set at 70. Okay, so it types it out, and that's whenever you first get on here. Refresh. Notice how it types it out. That's what's going on right there at the bottom. All right, and then of course we close our database connection. Click try it now. We'll go ahead and leave everything set. We'll set the expiration for tomorrow, and this is some text. When we scroll down and we hit submit, we notice that the processor that we use brings back this information right here. So let's go ahead and go to the processor. We go to the processor here, bring that up. Now, if is set, well, in the processor, we're including the functions because we use some functions in here. We're also including the config file. And I included the head file here too for the JavaScript and all that stuff because we needed it. And here we're sanitizing our post variables. Okay, so nobody can put in dangerous stuff into our database. Right here, I set a variable for the date, and this URL, that's what's generating that special URL at the end there. And I used that in a random number, and so here you can see I set the variable of URL, and I concatenated with the random number. And if this post variable is not set, if it equals nothing, I'll ask them to pick an expiration date, and then I'll exit the script. So if they're on here, let me go ahead, click try it now, and maybe they pick the seconds, maybe they pick the time, but they don't pick an expiration date, and you know, dear, this is blah blah blah. Okay, and then I hit submit. Notice what happens at the bottom. Please pick an expiration date. So that's coming back from the processor.php via AJAX. And if they don't fill out anything in the letter, if it's shorter than 7 characters, we're going to ask them please write a letter. So maybe they pick an expiration date, but the letter is under 7 characters. And we'll maybe just put this dear in here. And we'll go ahead and click submit. It says please write a letter. Okay? As we go down, we could grab the IP address and of whoever's writing this letter. And so what we'll do is select the IP from URL where IP is IP address, and then order by ID, and we'll get the number of rows. If the number is greater than 33, that means they've been back here 33 times. Then we're going to say, hey, listen, I'm glad you like this, but why don't you send me a little cash, like a little donation. And then we'll echo out the letter, visit your last letter if it's still available. Okay, and then we'll exit the script there. So if that person is, putting it over and over, maybe spam bots or whatever, we're not going to allow them to make any more letters. Okay? Here we start with a regular expression. We want to use preg replace to, make sure that there's no coding or anything like that going on whenever they're writing the letter. And then finally, we will insert into the letters the letter, the expiration time, how long it's able to be accessed for, and then we'll echo out the link to the letter where you can preview the letter, and that's where make sure it's more than 7 characters. Okay, so they could preview the letter there. That's what that's echoing out back in the processor. And here's we use the base name get CWD, and basically that's so anybody can put this on their server and use it. And so we use that directory name. We echo out the mail to, so somebody will bring up their email client. Now I will caution you that if you have Cloudflare, you have to disable email obfuscation in order to be able to use this. So if your website is going through Cloudflare, they encrypt all the email addresses. Okay. And then here you could click share the link below, and then we give them that little input where they can grab the URL and they could share it on their social media or whatever. Okay, and that's basically it. I have all these scripts posted in on my website, so you can copy and paste them, or you could just download them all. I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye-bye.